Good evening once again. It's Friday night, and welcome to the Man Cave. Brother Jeff's hanging out here with us tonight. Jeff, welcome.
Hey,
Jeff's having some technical difficulties. I'm hoping he's going to be able to hang in here with us this evening. And then our executive producer up on the upper floors of the Man Cave Tower here is Tanya, who's running the show. So, hey Tanya, you drinking with us tonight?
I am. I'm drinking
Jeff, are
coffee.
you drinking with us tonight?
absolutely.
I'm going to continue to try to get rid of this bottle of Blanton's. I'm not too far away from having this taken care of.
Doing four roses.
There's one more pour left in this bottle after tonight. I'll be done with Blanton's after that. I probably won't buy any more. Eric, glad you could make it. So, Tanya, are you having coffee up there, hopefully?
I am having coffee.
Hank,
I might
Hank's
have
got
to
his
have
Tito's
another
going.
cup of coffee.
Hank's a Tito's fan. Hank has Tito's every week.
Yeah.
And Andrew's having some rum tonight. Now that's not what Andrew's normally drinking. Andrew, glad you could make it with us. He's back in Canada tonight. He's been down in the States a lot here lately. I've been seeing some pictures of some stuff he's been sampling around the southern United States here. Russ is checking in from Facebook, having some Willet Rye. Good deal. Cheers. Mm. I've had bourbon. This has been a heavy bourbon week. Randy, glad you could make it in. This is my third bourbon this week. I had bourbon. I've started having bourbon on Monday nights a little bit because it's a long story, but it helps me sleep real well on Monday night. Old Forester. Peter's having some Old Forester. Good deal. But I had bourbon one other night this week, and I'm going to show you why here in just a minute. But yeah, it's been a
Must have been a good reason.
yeah, it was. It was a pretty good reason. Scott's having beers. Nothing wrong with that. Luke's up in Michigan. Awesome. If you're everybody that's watching, let me know where you're watching from. Leave me a comment. If you're drinking with us, let us know what you're having. Carla, there's nothing boring about beer. I love beer, and the only reason I'm not drinking beer is because I'm trying to stay low carb until I reach my dietary goal, and then I'll go back to having some beer. But until then, we're good. Tanya, I'm going to drop you down. We're going to bring you back a little bit later on. So, Jeff, what'd you cook this week?
Oh man, I cooked those four bone plate ribs.
Oh
Using
yeah,
my own
that's
mixing.
right.
So I did
Yeah,
that one,
that
and then I showed the Alpha a little bit of love with the crustless pizza. I made a big pan of crustless pizza.
yeah, that's right. Jeff made the crustless pizza. Was that like a 10-inch or a 12-inch pan? It was a pretty decent sized pan.
12-inch pan.
So Jeff made something similar to the crustless pizza that Tanya and I make around here, but he did it in a large pan and did it in his Alpha. The Alpha, man, it's those small ones that I make in the small dishes. In my when I put them in my little convection oven here, I do it at 375 with convection, which is effectively about 400 degrees, and it takes 18 to 20 minutes to finish those off. That same dish takes like 8 minutes to wrap up in the Alpha. That's how much
Yep.
faster that thing cooks. It's really amazing. Uh, but yeah, the ribs, we're going to be talking about ribs tonight because when you decided you did that, I decided I was going to do it also. And uh, I got pictures to show, so we'll get to that here in a minute. I made pictures. And today's video, guys, I published the video this afternoon on this rack of ribs. I bought a 3-bone rack of plate ribs at Patton's Meat Market down in Duluth, Georgia. I went down to visit the guys at Atlanta Grill Company on Tuesday, and I stopped by Patton's on my way in with the intention of buying some beef ribs because they've always got them. Every time I've been in there, they've got beef ribs, and beef ribs, I've told you guys over and over again, that's my favorite barbecue meat. If I
Yep.
could have my choice anytime, it's going to be beef ribs. I'll take beef ribs over brisket, over pork butt, over pork ribs, pork baby backs, any of that stuff. Give
Yep.
me the beef ribs.
Yep.
That's my jam right there, and I love it. And uh, they're not as cheap as brisket. They're not as cheap as pork butts, but it's worth it. It's less expensive than ribeye, so you got that going for you. The
Not unless
bell.
you buy it today at Publix.
Well, this is true, and we're going to talk about that too. I got some pictures of that guy on here as well. Ed's 8 miles from Atlanta Grill Company. Okay, Ed, you're going to have to make sure to put June 4th on your calendar. We're having that big outdoor party down there on the 4th, and I'll have some more details hopefully real soon. I've got a tentative vendor list of the vendors that are going to be at this event at Atlanta Grill Company. Brian, glad you could make it. Uh, and I'm kind of working with the marketing people for Atlanta Grill Company to put some things together here. And as details come about, I'll let you know. And Jeff and I are staying at the same hotel. Stephen Hickey's coming down. He's going to be staying at the same hotel. If any of you want to come stay at the same hotel we're staying at, we are staying. Is it called the Best Western Plus, Jeff? It's the
Yeah.
Best Western Plus in Roswell, and it's on a road called Holcomb Bridge Road. You'll be able to find that on Expedia or whatever booking service you use, and their rates are really good. And I've stayed at this hotel 4 or 5 times now. It's decent, and the rates are really reasonable, especially for that area. And it's about 3 miles from Atlanta Grill Company, Jeff. It's real. It's not far.
If even that, I don't
If
know. This
even,
three
yeah,
miles.
it's close, and it's come stay with us because I'm hoping we can have a little get together in the hotel lobby area there on at least on Friday or Thursday night or Friday night, I mean, and
Yeah,
maybe
Ed, it's
even
behind
Friday
the
night
Olive
as well.
Garden.
Yeah, I'm going to be there Thursday night, Friday night, and Saturday night. I think Jeff's going to be there those same 3 nights. So it's a
Yep.
I don't remember the Olive Garden doesn't
It's right
connect
in
with me
front of
for
it,
some reason.
John.
There's a Taco Bell in the parking lot though. I can remember that. There's a so yeah. I'm always ready, Bruce. Bruce lives right close to Atlanta Grill Company. Also, we'll see Bruce there that Saturday for sure. So I'm really looking forward to this, guys, because we've been 2 years now without these events, and we're ready to get it rolling again. And Gary and Jason and Marcus, they're just chomping at the bit to get this. I know it's a lot of work for those guys, but man, it's a big day. So uh, I want to show you a couple of things. I've got a gadget of the week for us this week. I haven't done that lately, but let me. I went to one of the things I picked up at Atlanta Grill Company this week is this thing called the Fog Hat uh, cocktail smoker. And what this is, it's a little contraption here that's 3 pieces. It's it's a wooden funnel shape. Oh crap! I just dropped my screen. Let me grab that because I need to show it to you. It's a little funnel shaped contraption that has some holes in the bottom of it. And this little pit, you put these wood filings in. And I'm going to show you those in a minute. And you put this screen in on top of it. And then you set this guy on top of your cocktail glass. And it has these wood filings. I got some pictures I'm going to show you here as well. So this will be a little easier to see. These little wood shavings. You put them underneath that screen and you use a culinary torch to fire that up and it creates smoke in the glass. And then you put this cap on it. And this particular, theirs have the Atlanta Grill Company logo branded on top of it. So let me bring these pictures up so you can see this a little better. Uh, this is just the box that it comes in. And here's our funnel piece. And that's what it looks like from the side. And the screen. and the logo cap that goes on top of it. It comes with a little cleaning brush also, because if those little holes in the funnel get stopped up, you can clean them out with this. And this is the sampling of the wood shavings that come with it. It's not a whole lot, but it only takes a pinch of these to do this each time. And what I want to do here is I made a little video. This is about 15 seconds to show you how this thing works. So I'm going to pull it up here right quick. So there's that. What did I do here? I messed this up, Jeff. There we go. That thing, I didn't get the kit that comes with the culinary torch. There's a culinary torch available from these people, and there's also a kit that's got this base with a glass cloche that goes on top of it that you can put other things underneath and put smoke in with the same device. But this thing gives you the smoked glass. Now let me talk about that for a moment. This does not smoke your bourbon. That's not what this is about. This smokes your glass. And what you're getting out of this is a smoke aroma more so than a smoke flavor. You're not getting there's not enough smoke contact from this with the bourbon to actually infuse the bourbon with a smoke flavor. But what happens is when you do this, that smoke, there's enough smoke there that it kind of adheres lightly to the glass. And every time you bring the glass to take a sip, you get an aroma of smoke from the glass. Jeff, have you ever had a smoked cocktail before?
Nope.
You haven't? Okay.
Nope. I'm a straight up kind of guy, you know. Give it to me straight. No water, no rocks.
This is about smoking the glass. It's not really so about smoking the bourbon, but this is a really neat little kit. And they've had this at Atlanta Grill Company for a little while now, but for some reason or another, they weren't able to sell it online until they had to wait for some reason before they could start selling it online. And Atlanta Grill Company provided me with this. I did not buy this. They gave it to me to demo and to show you guys because they know we get on here every Friday night and have a drink. And this is a really neat thing. I've played with it a couple times this week. That's why I had more bourbon this week than I would normally, because I did that to make the video, and I ended up having a double shot of bourbon that night because I made 2 videos. I made that little short clip you just saw, and then I made another one that I'm going to publish probably next week as a Gadget of the Month, a short video for Atlanta Grill Company that runs through this. But it's a really cool toy. I like this well enough that I might get the cloche because there are certain things I might like to smoke that aren't in a glass. And I don't know exactly how big that dome is. I'm going to have to look at it to see if it's big enough to do the things I might like to do with it. But once again, if it's not, Atlanta Grill Company has another smoke chamber with a smoke generator. And I can't remember the name of it to save my life. If Scott Love's with us tonight, Scott knows this product, and he can come on here and he can tell us what that one's called. It's a larger glass enclosure that has a smoke gun that you attach to it, and it uses a little pinch just like this does, and it pumps smoke into that. It's like a little glass birdhouse looking thing. I can't remember the brand name of that thing to save my life, but that'll probably be on demo at the Atlanta Grill Company event in June, because that's been demoed every other time I've been to an event down there. Have you seen that one running, Jeff?
Yep. And I tell you what, there's nothing better than smoked guacamole.
Yeah,
That is
but
good.
you can smoke a lot of things, and one of the things I haven't had very often, but the times I have had it, I've enjoyed it, is a smoked salad. You know, you like
Yep.
put a wedge salad under one of these domes and give it 15 seconds of smoke, and it really makes a beautiful thing. So
Yes, it
It
does.
sounds weird. It sounds weird until you try it. So uh, those pictures that I just showed you were actually at the end of my run. So let me start back up here. Uh, I got a new knife sharpener this week that I actually did a brief demo video of this knife sharpening system on the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel and the Man Cave Meals Facebook page earlier this week. This is a professional grade kitchen knife sharpening tool that I'm not going to go into detail about it tonight, but all I want to say about this thing is this is going to be what I'm going to give my really right stuff tag for sharpening kitchen knives. This is not a great system for pocket knives, but it is a beautiful system for kitchen knives. And I'll probably talk some more about that in future live streams. I don't want to go into much detail about that one tonight. But for those of you who are not aware, Publix has whole bone-in ribeyes on sale right now for $6.99 a pound. And
Until the 17th.
is it the 17th? I think it may be the
Yeah.
16th here. And I think your sale started a day after mine did. I think there's a day lag there somewhere. So it's the 16th or the 17th that this sale's going on. So I decided it's time to go get another big one and get it in the dry ager. So I went to Publix on, I guess it was Tuesday or Wednesday. I don't remember.
I think
Uh,
it was Wednesday.
it's probably Wednesday. And yeah, because I was in Atlanta all day Tuesday. But when I went there, what they had in the case, they didn't have anything that weighed over about 6 pounds. So I went and asked the guy behind the counter. I said, I want a big one. And he says, well, how big a one do you want? And I said, well, how big a one can I get? And he opened up a box and pulled out a whole one. And he said, this is how big it is. I said, I'll take it if you'll prep it. And what you have here is a, let me just show you. I've got some more pictures here. This one weighs about 15 3/4 pounds. And it's the whole ribeye. None of it's been cut off. It's actually 15.72 pounds here on this particular cut. And this is it with the plastic off. And what they've done here is the bones are here, but they're actually cut off and they're tied back on, which is fine for dry aging. That's a good configuration for dry aging because then I won't lose the meat that's underneath those bones to pellicle when it comes time to trim that down. I'll just pull those bones off and I'll cut this guy into steaks. But I have put this guy. Actually, that picture's out of order. This I stuck it in the dry aging locker, and this is going to ride uh, I decided I'm going to do this one for 45 days. 60 days is more than I like, and 30 days is borderline enough. So the ones I've done in the past, I usually pull them at 35 days, but I'm going to let this one go to 45 days, and I think that's going to be a really good spot for me. But anyway, this picture, this is the meat. This is the little piece of the meat case at Patton's down in Duluth, and this is their beef ribs right here. He's got a bunch of these plate ribs cut down into individual bones where you can buy one bone if that's all you want. But back here in the back, he's got the 3 bone segments. So I bought one of those. I bought one of the whole 3 bone segments, and it weighed 6.4 pounds for the 3 bone rack, and it's got a fat cap on it, which is normal. And this, looking at it from this fat side, you can see how thick the meat is on those bones. There is a lot of really nice marbled beef on this rack. And this is the bone side, which I don't do anything to. I'll leave it just like that. So what I did, I decided I was going to prep this thing. I prepped this thing a day in advance. I brought it outside and got on my work table and I trimmed off the fat cap just like you see here. That's all I did. I didn't worry about getting it perfect. And then I shook a good coat of the Atlanta Grill Company's Himalayan Sherpa on that, and let it adhere, and then I worked the edges of it and got a nice coat of that on all surfaces of that. And I put it back in the refrigerator on this rack, and this one got to go about 24 hours. So I got a really nice long dry brine on this rack where that salt really gets a chance to go to work inside the meat. Next morning, I pull it out, uh, and over here I've got beef broth and my injector, and I just injected this guy with beef stock. So BC Fran says he ordered a 3-bone rib roast. He's picking up from his butcher on Tuesday. Yep, that'll be a good cook. Absolutely. But I injected this guy with the beef stock and just let it sit here for 15 or 20 minutes while I got the bark up to temperature. And I fired up the Myron Mixon bark to 300 degrees. Now, what I'm doing here is follow. Jeff and I both did this same cook. Uh, Myron Mixon published a video last week on a beef rib technique that Jeff and I both wanted to try. So I'm basically following Myron's technique here, with the exception of the way I seasoned this. Myron didn't dry brine. He just injected and seasoned right before he was ready to go to grill. Is that correct, Jeff? Jeff?
Yep.
He didn't dry
Yep.
brine. He just seasoned right before the cook. So
No.
anyway, we're going 300 degrees Fahrenheit here, and in Myron's cook, Myron had the 4-bone racks that are smaller than this. They're the they're very similar to the 4-bone racks you can get from Publix that they cut their short ribs out of. They're not the big plate rib size. They're the smaller ones. And he went for 2 hours at 300 degrees uncovered in the smoke before he went to his second stage. But with this guy being a good bit larger than what Myron had, I went for 3 hours in the smoke. And this is what I have at the 3-hour mark on that rack. So then we moved to the next phase of the cook. I didn't take all the photographs I should have taken here, but what I did here was I took the meat out off the grill and I set it in this foil pan on the metal rack that was sitting inside that sheet pan we were cooking on, where it's elevated from the bottom. And I put 2 cups of apple juice in the bottom of the pan so I could have some liquid to steam. And Myron laid a piece of pink butcher paper over the top of the ribs before he covered it with foil. And I couldn't sort out in my mind why he had done that. And I was talking to Jeff about it. And Jeff, tell us why Myron does that.
Keeps the any aluminum foil corrosion. Gives you a buffer, so you don't have to worry about any corrosion coming off your aluminum foil.
Scott, the purpose of the injection is just to add flavor to the beef. It's not something I do normally, but since I was gonna skip that on this one, but Jeff talked me into doing it because that's what Myron did. So, and you can taste it. The beef stock does leave a flavor, and if I'm gonna do this again, I'm gonna work on that beef stock. I want to change the beef. I want to change what's going into that injection. Also, I use low sodium. I use 50% less sodium beef stock on that, simply because I had put all that Himalayan Sherpa on there, and that's a lot of salt. And I didn't want to over salt this rack of ribs, but I'm going to do this again, and I'm going to play with that injection. I think that injection needs some additional things in it to suit my taste, and we'll get to that when the time comes, but I'm going to work that out. But anyway, the foil, the layer of butcher paper over there supposedly stops the salt and the stuff in the rub from corroding the aluminum. I had never heard of that before, but apparently it's a thing, and I've never seen it before. But for consistency's sake and following Myron's process, I went ahead and did that, and you'll see that in the video. And then I covered it up with foil, and we went back to the grill. Sharon, I don't know about it. It's something I'm going to have to do a little bit of research on, because I've been wrapping barbecue in foil and putting it back on the grill for years, and I've never I've never seen a problem with it, but it's something I'll have to investigate and figure out. But we still stay at 300 degrees, and I think Myron went for Jeff. How long did yours and Myron's go? 2.5 hours at this stage.
Yeah.
Well, oddly enough, mine went 2.5 hours too in the foil, and the target in the foil process here is to cook that beef until the internal temperature of it hits what, Jeff?
210 degrees, which I was hesitant on, but I went
Yeah,
ahead and followed the program.
210, and I've never cooked anything to 210, and I decided that we're going to do that, and it took me it took me 2 hours and 40 minutes to get it to 210. And the strange thing is once I put this in the pan, my temperature, my internal temperature in that beef was already at 185. It still took it 2.5 hours to go from 185 up to 210. But when I got it to that, I took it out. This is what it looked like right out of there. So I just took this off long enough to take a picture of it. I covered it back up and I let that rest in the pan for 30 minutes to let it rest before I did anything else with it. And here's just another picture from the edge. And after I let it rest, I took it out and put it on my cutting block and took a couple more pictures of it here. It really had nice drawback. And if you watch my video, I showed you the jiggle factor of this. When this beef jiggles like Jello, when you wiggle it, you know that it's where you want it to be. And there's another picture from the other edge. And then I took these guys apart. Has a beautiful smoke ring, and even though that thing was only in the smoke on the pellet grill for well, it was in there for 3 hours, at 300 degrees. And here's kind of what I call my money shot. These things were just oozing with juices when I cut them open, and they were crazy tender. This is the most tender beef rib I've ever had, and I've had a lot of beef ribs. I've never had them tender to this degree before. Yes, Ben, plate ribs and dino ribs, that's exactly the same thing. The plate ribs come off the bigger part of the bone than the regular beef short ribs do. Ed, yes, typically they do. This 3 bone rack weighed 6.6. What did I say? 6.5 pounds. The 4 bone racks that I typically get are in the four. They're around 4 pounds on average, maybe 4.5. So you're
Four and a
getting
half usually.
4 to 4.5. Typically, the ones I get from Publix are 4 to 4.5 pounds for that 4 bone rack. So these do have significantly more meat on them than those smaller 4 bone racks do. But this is the result. And I've only got one complaint about this. I am not totally happy with the bark that's on these. I like my bark a little firmer than what I ended up here with. And the bark, in order to get, I believe, and Jeff and I will probably play with this. I think we can modify this technique enough to improve that bark a good bit.
Yep.
I may end up. What I would like to do on this is Myron's total cook time was 4.5 hours. My total cook time was 5.5 hours because I was in the smoke for an hour longer than he was. But I would rather slow this down to an 8-hour cook, and I would rather go low and slow it like at 225 for 5 hours in the smoke and let that bark set up, let that bark get to be a bit stronger, and then move into the foil process and still take it to 210. I think we can do that, and it's going to be worth experimenting with.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to do the next time. I've got another package out there that I'm going to do that
Yeah,
with.
Sharon, I wouldn't change anything if you're going to do it on the Kamado Joe. It doesn't matter which grill or smoker you do this on. The technique is going to be the same. The smoker's just the smoker you choose to use is just providing your heat. So do this on your Kamado Joe. You just want to follow the same temperature and time scheme that we've worked with in the video. This is one of those rare instances where your timing is kind of part of the procedure. You're ultimately shooting for 210 degrees in the meat, but Myron's process is, like I said, 2 hours in the smoke and then the rest of it in the foil pan and all of it at 300 degrees. So the thing about the pan section, here's something to keep in mind. You really won't be able to overcook these. You the timing is still not going to be critical because in reality, inside that pan, the temperature inside that pan is never going to get up above 212 or 215
Yep.
tops because it's in a really moist, steamy environment. It doesn't matter that it's 300 degrees outside that pan. The liquid that's in that pan is going to keep the temperature in that pan right around boiling point. So it does. That's why it took it a while to get to 210 because it's not much hotter than that inside that pan. So it's really hard to overcook this. Now, in Myron's video, he didn't talk about it, but well, he did talk about it. You know, everybody talks about pulling the membrane off the back side of the ribs. Myron specifically says don't do that with beef ribs because that membrane on the back is going to help hold your meat on the bone instead of letting it fall off. But this technique is still very capable of producing fall off the bone ribs. In fact, in Myron's video, the one rib he picked up, if you pay attention in the video, it came off the bone
Yep.
while he had it in his hand. It wasn't very noticeable, but I noticed it. It popped right off the bone, which is fine with me. I got zero problems with fall off the bone ribs. I'm not a competition cook, and the only people that give a rat's hind end about fall off the bone ribs are people who are more interested in the competition aspect of it. But once again, this is the most tender rib I've ever had, and I highly encourage you to try this. This has made me wonder something, and I talked to Jeff about it earlier. I just wonder if I can take a pork butt to 210. I've never done it. I don't think I've ever done it because I'm real bad about not paying after my temperature in my pork butt gets up to about 197 or 198. I pull my temperature probe out of it because I don't want the internal temperature to guide my cook at that point. I want to leave it on there until it feels right. And I don't think I've ever put anything up to 210. Have you cooked one that far, Jeff?
Nope, never have. But after doing these beef ribs, I'm game to give it a try once.
You know, I bet those pork bombs get up to 210.
Yeah, I would say probably they do because we don't really. Well, no, because I pulled it. I got a thermometer in one of them, a probe in one of them, and I pull it at 203, 204, somewhere around there. I mean, it may in the resting process, creep up to 207, 208, but I don't think it's going to hit 210.
Right. Hmm. Steven's got a comment here. Let's put that up there and see what Steven has. It reminds me of Chef Eric's technique for his pastrami brisket. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah, it's a very similar process, Stephen, but we're just not wrapping it tight. And uh, this Jeff, that brings up something else. I wonder if we should try that. That should be our next target rather than. In fact, I'm going to do that. The next rack of these I cook, I'm going to wrap them in Saran wrap before they go in the pan, and I'm not going to worry about putting any. I'm going to do that. Actually, yeah, I'm going to do that, and I'm not going to bother putting any liquid. Well, I might put a little liquid in the pan. That'll keep the pan from getting hot enough to melt the Saran wrap. But
That shouldn't
I'll
be
leave
an
that.
issue if you keep your temperature of your bark right at 225 because that thing holds. I mean, you don't have that fluctuation in there. It's going to hold right at 225 with no problem. That's one thing I liked when I did the pork bombs in the bark.
It's going to be
Man, I
harder to
tell
wrap
you
the.
what, those things were freaking awesome.
It's going to be harder to wrap beef ribs in the Saran wrap because of the bones. It
Well,
would be
that's where
better.
I would probably take and cut your four bone down to a two bone to make it easier
Yeah.
to wrap. Because I don't know that you can get a four bone
Well,
manipulated enough to get it wrapped correctly.
you saw how much bone protrusion, how much pullback we had, and that pullback continues after you wrap that. That pullback's going to continue even more. So I don't think that technique's going to work. I'm going to stick with this. I think I like this process because I really think it's a strong process. And when I first watched the video, I'm asking Jeff. Jeff says we're going to do this. We're going to do this. And I said, man, why is he doing this or why is he doing that? And I said that's going to be fall off the bone. And the I was complaining to Jeff while I was cooking it, while I was doing this
Yep.
cook. I was in communication with Jeff. I said, man,
And
I don't
and
like
what did
this.
I tell you?
You
What
said
did I
write
tell
it
you?
out.
Stick with,
Yeah.
write it out.
Well,
Stick with the process.
I did. I write it out, but my complaint in the end still is the same, and it's that I don't like the bark as much. I
Yeah, I
would,
agree with you totally.
yeah,
I would go 200, 225 longer and then finish up.
I want to
Go ahead, go
improve this
210.
process, and where I'm not worried about time. I'm not worried about how long it takes me to cook it. If it takes 8 hours, I'm still good with that because normally when I cook a rack like this, I'm counting on 8 hour cook. 7 to 8 hours, and I want to make that even better, and I think I can do it. But that
Well, you know what I say? Time is the essence of quality.
it is, but I think I can have the best of both worlds by modifying the timing on that cook.
I
I'm
said
not
that cook
complaining.
needs two things. It
What?
needs a lower cook to get the bark better, in my opinion and your opinion, and also the beef stock needs to be jazzed up.
Well, that's one of the things we talked about. First of all, I used a 50% less sodium beef stock, and I probably could have gotten away with a sodium-free beef stock on that. But let me tell you a trick I learned from Harry Sue when I went to his barbecue school quite a few years back. I don't know if Harry still does this or not, but Harry's brisket injection, he used a concentrated beef stock. And what he said in his class, he used to be able to buy the Campbell's condensed beef stock or somebody's condensed beef stock. And that's what he would use. But for whatever the reason, he couldn't buy that anymore. And he was having to buy beef stock that it's at its normal concentration. So what he was doing was he was taking that and putting it on the stove in a pot and reducing it by half to concentrate the beef stock. I want to do that because that the concentrated beef stock does make a better flavor, in my opinion, from having tasted Harry's brisket. But also,
But see, that's where I
Harry,
think the better than bouillon will work for you because you can
right?
control the intensity.
I can control the intensity, but I can't control the salt and the better than bouillon. Harry's beef brisket injection started out with concentrated beef stock, but he also put the who, McCormick's Montreal steak seasoning in it. Are you familiar with that?
Hmm.
He put some of that in it,
Yep.
and he puts some some additional cayenne pepper in it as well. So it's really, but this guys, this is competition. Harry was teaching competition technique there, and that very well could turn out to be more of a bite than you'd want to put on your dinner table. I don't know. Um, it's one of these situations where that particular bite is to impress a judge who's only going to take one bite. Uh, Steve, in the pan, we put 2 cups of apple juice in the pan. So it's not really braising because we had the ribs on a rack in the pan. The ribs weren't sitting in the liquid; they were sitting above it. So it was more of a steam than a braise. But I'm with you. You're right. That's the technique involved here. But if you wrapped it, you're going to get more of a braise because a braise slash steam slash confit, because it's going to be cooking in its own fat and
Yeah.
steam and whatnot. Confit
I mean,
basically is a braise, but it's a braise in fat rather than a braise in a liquid, a non-fat liquid. But um,
well, let's face it, you could put water in the pan and achieve the same
yeah, I
principle
don't think it
because,
would
like I
have
say,
made
the
a bit
meat
of
wasn't
difference.
touching it.
It
So, I
wouldn't have
mean,
made a
all
bit
you
of
were getting
difference.
was a little bit of steam.
It wouldn't have made a bit of difference what liquid was in there. But once again, I'm okay with apple juice or whatever or beer or whatever you want to throw in there because one of the most important lessons I have learned during the online cooking classes I've been taking is the use of flavorful liquids. I've gotten to the point where I don't use water. I hardly ever use water for anything anymore. Even if I was going to cook rice, uh, I cook it in some sort of stock rather than just water because
Chicken
it makes,
stock.
yeah, any kind of stock. You can use veggie stock, chicken stock, beef stock, or a combination of any of that. Uh, Pasta is one of the things I have not experimented with a lot of things other than water, but I don't see why you couldn't cook pasta in a stock just as easily. I haven't tried it, but that's one of the major things I've brought out of these online cooking classes I've been taking is the opportunity to bring additional flavors, and that's one of them. And injection, for those of you that have been following me for a while, you know I don't do it very often. It's just not something I do. And this I don't know. This cook's made me think once again about it. And I had a, I have a love hate relationship with the stainless steel injector that I have, and it was stuck. The syringe plunger part of it was screwed onto the tube, and I couldn't get it loose. It's been stuck on there for a year now, and I can't get it loose. And I was trying a bunch of stuff yesterday to get it loose, and I ended up breaking it trying to get it loose. So I ordered another one. So I have a brand new one now. It came in today, and since I have that, I'm going to experiment some more. I keep an injector on hand because if I'm going to cook turkey and poultry and chicken, I think need injections, and I keep an injector on hand to do that. Now Jeff. We need to talk about your injector sometime. Did you get that from the guys at Atlanta Grill Company?
Yep.
It's is it Oklahoma Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
it's
it
a
works good. I mean, it primes real quick. I mean, you
yeah it
just put the hose in your container and pump it about 3 times, and you're ready to rock and roll.
it's a neat little injector where you can mix up your injection and put it in a bottle or a jar or whatever and just drop that hose down in there. It's a squeeze trigger thing where you don't have to refill your injector over and over again. It's sucking it right out of whatever container you've made your injection in. I'll
It
have to
does
get one
make
of
it a
those.
lot easier.
Yeah, I told you I didn't want one of those, but I'll pick one of those up next time I'm down there, and we'll turn that into a gadget of the month sometime. Uh, Stephen, I'm the same way, and that's why I don't have the injector that Jeff's got. I think my stainless steel one's a lot easier to clean. I had the spit jack. That was a really nice injector also, but it was a real pain in the butt to clean it, and I ended up giving it away. I gave it to a friend of mine, and he's still using it as far as I know. It was expensive when I bought it. Those have come down a lot since I bought mine. I paid about $100 for that injector, and I don't know. I think I saw it for $59 the last time I saw them. But I like my simple stainless steel one. It's easy to clean, and I'm going to make sure I don't let this one get stuck together. I'm not sure how I did that on the other one, but I think it'll be really important for me to unscrew that thing as soon as I'm done using it, where whatever stuck that one together won't stick me together again.
Okay, John, pro tip here. When you go to Atlanta Grill,
Yep.
pick up a package of the metal straws for the Yetis. They're put out by Yetis. It comes with almost like a pipe cleaner brush
Yeah.
that you can get down in the needle part of your injector, and it does a great job.
Well, let's just see here. This is what I bought. The same brand as the one I had. They've changed the design a little bit, but it came with that. If I remember, it it has a. I think it has that with it. This is what's in my case. It's the injector, and it's got 3 syringes. But underneath here, I have a.
Yep,
There's a there's 2 of these in here that are 2 different calibers because 2 of these injectors are a larger gauge. The 2 on the outside are a larger gauge than the small one. But the problem, guys, I had with my other one is this piece here, this piece that unthreads the plunger. and allows you to disassemble that to where this can come out and clean this. My problem was this thread, this part that screws on to the cylinder was stuck. I couldn't get it loose. Nothing I tried would take that off. These two pieces were stuck together as one, and this is very difficult to clean properly when you can't get this off. So I have a brand new injector, so we'll use it next time I get a chance to inject. Now I feel guilty for not buying this from Atlanta Grill Company. Atlanta Grill Company doesn't sell this brand, and they've got a perfectly good stainless steel injector. And the reason I bought this one, my nephew several years back gave me the one that I just broke for Christmas, and I was just it's a sentimental reason that I bought this one instead of buying the one they've got down at Atlanta Grill Company. But theirs comes with the same. It's basically the same kit. It's a 2 ounce stainless steel injector. So anyway, today I had a little bit of fun. I got outside my own box. Frog legs. I have never had frog legs before, and Tanya and I were at the grocery store last night, and I looked in the seafood case, and lo and behold, they had these fresh frog legs, and I decided to pick some up. I bought the four that you see here. I said I'm gonna cook those, and most people, it seems to be the common thing. People bread these things and then they deep fry them, and then they tell you they taste just like chicken, and they probably do taste just like chicken because you've breaded them and deep fried them. But I did something a little different. I went ahead and cut these guys in half, and this, I don't know if you're familiar with the farm sauce. This is another sauce they sell down at Atlanta Grill Company. This is a really bold sauce. It's based in butter, horseradish, lemon juice, and ketchup are the four ingredients at the top of the list on the ingredients list here. So I marinated these guys in the farm sauce for about 4 hours. I put them in early this morning, and at lunchtime today, I put a little bit more of the farm sauce in a saucepan and heated that up. And then I put an iron skillet on my burner, melted some butter, and I tossed these frog legs in that butter that had been brining or marinating all morning in the farm sauce, and got a nice cook on those. And then I took them off the heat and dumped the rest of that farm sauce that I had in there and kind of tossed those guys in the farm sauce. And this is what I had for lunch today. And let me just tell you, first of all, it's the first time I've had frog legs, and everybody that told me they taste like chicken, I'm in full disagreement with you at this point. But the way I cooked them here, they don't taste like chicken, or they don't taste like any chicken I've ever had. Uh, the texture is what did I say earlier, Jeff? It's somewhere in between shrimp and chicken. It's a little firmer than shrimp,
Yep.
but not as firm as chicken. It's really tender. If you and I'm assuming I didn't overcook these things. These guys got about a minute and a half or maybe 2 minutes aside in this pan. It was not. I was not over 400 degrees in this pan. It was a fairly quick cook. Like I said, 2 minutes or
Yeah.
so
You'd know if
aside.
you overcooked them. They'd be rubbery.
Yeah, they weren't. They were very tender. In fact, they might have been on the slightly side of undercooked, but they were delicious. And but they were delicious because of the flavor I brought to them with the farm sauce. I am in agreement that these things are like chicken, only in the aspect is that they're not bringing any flavor to the table on their own. They're totally dependent on what you do with them. So you can flavor these things by whatever you want to put on them or in them or how you want to marinate them or what kind of sauce you want to cook them in. But I highly recommend, and this is coming from an inexperienced frog leg eater, guys. But if you're used to eating frog legs that have been breaded and deep fried, try something like this and let me know what you think about that, because I don't know.
I've never had a breaded deep fried frog leg. All mine have been sauteed.
Well, everybody that when I posted the pictures of these things, everybody talked about breading them and deep frying them. So I'm just
Yeah.
assuming that that's the common thing. That's what most people would want to do with that. But I'll do it again. I'll now that I know where I can get these things. I asked the guy. He says they normally have them. So I'll think about this a little bit more, and we'll do a cooking video one week, and we'll put frog legs in the loop because I'll eat that again. So Brad, when it comes to poultry and chicken, I don't normally do it with chicken. I normally do it with turkey. I like to melt butter, and I like to season that butter with garlic, rosemary, thyme, uh, cayenne, a little cayenne, and bring that butter up to a very slow simmer, just long enough to extract the essence from that rosemary. You could put sage in there. It's rosemary, thyme, and sage. Uh,
Mhm.
all bring a wonderful flavor to that butter, and just you got to be very careful with the cayenne. You don't want but a little tiny bit of it in there, and let that infuse its flavor into that butter. And I like to inject that butter into turkey. That's what I do because the put especially into the white meat, into the breast. The turkey breast is so lean, and it this makes a an amazing. I've done several turkey videos in Thanksgiving season where I've done this process, and it's what I like to do. I like to put a lot of butter in the breast, and I put some in the legs and the thighs as well, just because I do the whole thing. But uh, for a typical turkey, uh, I will I'll melt a pound of butter. I'll melt four sticks of butter, and that's a lot. And I'll try to inject every bit of that into that bird. Some of it's going to render out during the cook, but a lot of that flavor is going to stay behind. And it's really important to let those herbs steep in that butter long enough to season that butter really well, and it makes an amazing flavor. You can put garlic in there as well. I actually forgot that. I typically will for a pound of butter, I would take two or three cloves of garlic and just smash them and put them in there, and I strain the solids out before I try to. And you don't want to try to inject that, so I run that through a strainer, through a fine mesh strainer, to where I've just got the seasoned butter that's going to go into the bird. So that's something that makes turkey tolerable for me. I'm not a big fan of turkey. I think turkey is an awful lot of work, and when everything's said and done, it's still turkey. It's just not that great. But if I'm gonna do turkey, I'm gonna make sure that it's gonna be the friggin' best turkey possible. And Jeff, what do you do to turkey? How do you make turkey extraordinary?
Well, I've got three different ways that I do it. One is the way that you do it. The other way is I like going to Bass Pro Shop and getting the Cajun injection,
Hmm.
which is really
That
good.
Tony Chicaries or whatever that is.
Yep,
What's that
that's
brand name? I've seen it. I've
yeah,
never bought it.
that's real good. And then the third way is I'm sold on the Atlanta Grill Turkey Ultimate Turkey Kit. That
Yeah,
produces one fine turkey.
their brine and their rub, the ultimate. I've got a tube of that. I've still got one of those kits. I've got one of them that hasn't even been opened yet. But guys, my favorite, and also Brad, before you run, uh, my favorite way to cook that turkey is to deep fry it. I think the deep fried turkey is superior to smoked turkey every day of the week, and you'll never change my mind on that. Uh, in fact, I published last year, sometime I published a video on the Man Cave Meals YouTube channel of a deep fried turkey. Uh, that's my go-to method. I know a lot of people like to smoke it for a while and finish it in the deep fryer. Just give me the deep fried turkey because I love that. I love that deep fried skin texture, and you cannot get that on the grill. You cannot get that on the smoker. It doesn't matter how hot you cook, you won't get that same texture. And oh boy, it's good. Jeff, have you ever deep fried one?
Yep, many,
What
many
do you
times.
What do you think?
I still prefer the my smoked turkeys to it.
Yeah. Well, it's
The
I'm
only
sure
thing that's
it's
really
personal
the
preference.
only thing that makes the deep fried turkey great is the skin.
Yeah.
So if you're into the crispy skin, deep fried is the way you want to go.
hmm Do you think there's any difference one way or the other in the meat itself?
No,
No.
no. Matter of fact, I think the legs come out a little drier,
Hmm.
trying to get the breast to the doneness that it needs to be. I think the bottom of your leg meat dries out.
Now here's one thing about deep frying turkey. I will admit, most of the deep frying turkey techniques give you a time. You're cooking you cook it X number of minutes per pound at some temperature in the oil. You can't do that.
No,
You need to pull that bird out and check that meat temperature and get it off before you overcook it. Because
yep,
you can overcook a turkey in a deep fryer just as quick as you can on a grill or a smoker, and you will dry it out. Don't let
probably
people
quicker.
don't let people lie to you and say you're sealing in the juices when you deep fry it. You're not. You're cooking them right off. So, but I don't know. The That's one of the reasons this meat stick system I have. I'd like to play with that a little more because those wireless temperature probes in that thing are safe to use in a deep fryer, and I think it would be really cool to put that in there where I could yank that bird out when that temperature in the deep part of the breast hits about 150, which is where I'd pull it off if I had it on smoker. Yeah, Stephen, we know.
Sarcasm there.
Yeah, I know how Stephen is. Oh boy, man, Stephen and I could have a conversation, just a friendly conversation between the two of us, and we could be sarcastic to each other to the point where people think we were fighting. And
Yep.
we'd be laughing in the background the whole time.
And the only
Stephen and
other the only other thing about deep fried turkey is A, peanut oil is so expensive,
yeah.
and B, what do you do with it after you're done? I mean,
Well,
it takes up a whole lot of space in the refrigerator.
let me tell you a secret. I deep fry mine in canola oil. And the only reason I would ever consider using peanut oil over canola oil is if I wanted to strain that oil out and use it again later. If it's going to be a one off cook, which mine are, I'm not going to be doing a
Hmm.
whole bunch of these things over a period of time. I use canola oil. I don't spend the money to use peanut oil, and I don't see an advantage to using peanut oil. Uh, and like I said, unless you wanted to use that oil multiple times, that peanut oil will is more robust for multiple cooks. If I wanted to cook in peanut oil and then strain that oil out through cheesecloth or something when I was done back into the container it came in and use it again a month later, I'd be comfortable doing that. I would not do that with canola oil, but that's the only reason I'd
Yeah,
spend the
but
money
you can
to
do
do
that. But like I say, you got to store it in the refrigerator, and that takes up a lot of real estate.
it. Yeah, well, canola oil is a heck of a lot cheaper than peanut oil, but it's still expensive. And if you're going to deep fry turkey, my opinion is that you should find some other friends that won't deep fried turkeys and do several of them at one time. Do one right after the other, and
Absolutely.
get your money's worth out of that oil. Because even using canola oil, you're going to spend $15 or $18 at least on just the oil, and you're going to spend $30 or $40 if you want to use peanut oil. Peanut oil that time of year, Thanksgiving comes around, you'll find the 3 and 4 gallon bottles of peanut oil out there, and they're expensive. But yeah, I don't use it. I don't do deep fried turkeys that often. That one I did for the
Well, the
video
key is
last
don't ever buy your peanut oil at Thanksgiving.
yeah, I the one I did last year right after Thanksgiving is the first turkey I've deep fried in a long time, and man, it was good. I missed it. It's dangerous, and
I don't have a deep fryer anymore.
I've got one. There's a lot of safety issues with it, but you just got to know those safety issues, and you got to get that turkey dry. It needs to be completely dry before you drop it in that hot oil. If you don't, you're going to have a
And
mess.
don't put a frozen one in.
No, it'll explode on you, and that oil will
It
come
will.
out of that pot. And hot oil's a horribly dangerous thing to be around. And there's two dangers of it. It will burn you devastatingly if it gets on your skin. And when it boils over the edge of that pot, guess what? It's going to come in contact with the flame on your burner underneath, and it's going to create a fire it's going to be a mess. Grease fire from a deep fryer has burned a lot of homes down. So you don't want that
Yep.
to happen. So I don't know. How do we get on this conversation? Inject it.
I don't know.
I don't know. Turkey. I guess we were talking about. He asked me about injecting poultry, so that's how we got off on the poultry thing. Anyway, who's got another question for us, Jeff? We've been going right at an hour here, and I don't have any additional material. And if anybody's got any questions, Jeff and I'll try to field those for you. Um,
In the interim, I say for those of you who like beef ribs, you need to give the mixing video a go. I suggest do it as he does it the first time to learn,
yeah.
and then tweak from there.
And for those of
But
you
I
that
say the
aren't
next
aware,
time I do it, I'm definitely going to go lower.
yeah, Myron Mixon's got his own YouTube channel out, and he seems to be so far putting the video out about once a week. And there's some pretty interesting stuff there. There's some really good
Yep.
information. And also, for those of you that are interested in video content from some amazing pit masters, you should be watching Harry Sue as well. Harry is constantly putting out great content on his YouTube channel from a award winning. He's an award winning pit master as well. I don't know. I think it would be an interesting conversation to see whether who's won more competition stuff, Harry or Myron. Both of them. I guess I don't know how they gauge that, but Harry's won a lot. Brian, I did. That's one of the things I picked up at Atlanta Grill Company.
Probably Harry's won more total competitions.
Yeah, Brian, I picked up the XL and the Junior on Tuesday. I bought those. I've got them stashed away over here. So I've got all three sizes now. Unfortunately, I had to get the black one for the XL. He didn't have any of the orange ones, but I bought the XL and the Junior, so I've got all three sizes. And let me tell you, based on what I've looked at, if I could only have one, I would want the XL.
You're not
I
going to put a
would
knife through this one, are you, John?
probably at some point. But Brian, if you're, I would think about that, Brian. I might. I don't know if you. I don't know if I'd get just the Junior. I'm guessing you have the mid-sized one already. If you have the mid-sized one, I might recommend getting the bigger one. Get the XL instead of the Junior, and get the. I don't know the Junior. I'd have to get it out and look at it. I haven't opened it up yet. I'm guessing the Junior is probably big enough to handle a butt, a single pork butt, but uh, I don't. I'm not sure what I'm going to do with the Junior yet. I just wanted the whole set. I
Yeah,
know
I
the
want to get the
XL.
XL for briskets
Yeah, and briskets and
because
ribs.
because the XL should handle a brisket nicely, where
Yeah,
the regular size one it's going to kind of creep up the sides. The regular size one is great for you can throw two butts in that. I threw two butts in it the last time and it worked just fine.
but I picked up both of those Tuesday, and I picked up some of the aiolis that they have as well. What's the best way to place wood chunks in a Kamado? He's got a classic one. Jeff, what do you think?
Best place, I don't know, best place in the fire. No,
Okay.
now I would depends on what kind of. See, I don't ever smoke with one wood. That's the key here, and a lot of people think, well, I have to smoke with hickory, I got to smoke with cherry, or I have to smoke with apple. I don't go by that philosophy. I like blending my woods. So when I put
Mhm.
in my wood chunks, I'll put in a piece of hickory, and I'll put in a piece of apple, depending on or cherry, depending on what I'm doing.
Right.
And I'll usually put them in halfway between the center and the outside ring. That way, your fire gets going a little bit before the wood chunk starts smoking,
right.
and then go from there.
Well, Jason, what I do is if I'm starting out with a chunk of wood that's a fist size chunk, I've got a hatchet that lives out here by my grill. I'll take my hatchet and I'll break that fist size chunk into 4 or 5 smaller pieces. And worst case scenario, I'm going to use 2 fist size chunks of wood in any given cook. Most of the time, I'll only use one. But if I've got 8 or 9 pieces, small pieces that I've cut out of 2 fist size chunks of wood, I just spread it. I'll load up when I load my charcoal into the grill. I'll put a little bit of charcoal in, and then I'll put a layer of wood chunks in. And I'll put some more charcoal in, and I'll put my other layer on top. I don't worry so much about smoke production. And one of the things I can tell you from experience is if you don't see the smoke coming out of the top of your grill, don't worry about that. It's there. You just may not be seeing it, but trust that it's there. And on a long cook, if you're going to cook 8, 10, 12 hours, most of those wood chunks are going to smolder during that cook, and you're going to get the smoke benefit from those. Uh, I wouldn't don't assume that just because you don't see smoke that it's not there. It's probably smoldering. In fact, in reality, and I think Jeff will probably agree here with me, that smoke that you don't see is the kind of smoke you want. It's the cleanest
Yep.
and best combusting smoke that's coming out of your Kamado grill because Kamado is a low airflow device, and typically when you've got really low airflow, if you see a bunch of smoke coming from that, it's not as clean as the smoke that would be coming from a higher airflow or a slower smoldering wood chunk. So
And I
we,
think John will agree. The majority of the smoke that you see coming off of a Kamado is the grease from whatever the fat
yeah,
renderings from whatever you're cooking, dripping down and kissing the fire. I
right.
think is going to give you more of smoke coming out of your chimney than your wood chunks are. Your wood
And,
chunks, if you got your fire going good, it's going to burn clean. You're not going to notice it at
yeah.
all.
And that smoke that you're getting from those grease, in my opinion, that's a good smoke. And
Oh, that's a
don't let
kiss.
don't let that smoke fool you because that smoke's going to be white. And all these people that are
Mhm.
telling you you're looking for thin blue smoke, you're going to see
Yeah.
this white smoke that's coming from grease drippings. And if you're using a drip pan, chances are you're not going to see as much of that as you would if you're not using a drip pan, which is why I've quit using drip pans. I want that smoke that's created by those grease drippings. I think it improves the flavor of everything I cook. And there are other people that'll take offense to that, but I'm just telling you what I like. Um, so don't sweat the smoke. Just put your wood in there, and it's going to provide you the smoke flavor you're looking for, whether you see it or not.
Yeah.
So I hope that answers his
Yeah, the only
question.
time I use a drip pan anymore is with a pork butt, just because of the sheer amount of fat that you get.
Yeah, Ron, the scent is a big thing. Smoke provides two elements to your cook, and it's aroma and flavor. So yeah, you're looking for that aroma. And once again, whether you smell the aroma of the smoke during the cooking process, you may or may not smell it because it may be mixed with enough air that it's not as detectable. But it's still producing flavor and aroma that's going to appear on your meat when you cook it. So yeah, it's we had a rather deep conversation last week about smoke. So if you want to, was it last week? Is last week we talked about smoke, right, Jeff?
Yep,
So if you want to watch the
yep.
replay of last week, we got into some more detail, a lot more detail about smoke. And smoke's a source of. There's a lot of misinformation out there about smoke. Ed, my Jeff, what's your favorite lump charcoal for flavor?
Probably Kamado Joe for flavor.
Yeah, we talked
I mean,
about that last week too.
I've used Kamado Joe. I've used Fogo. I've used. I'm in agreement with you on the Royal Oak. I think Royal Oak probably produces the least amount of smoke. I use. You got me into using the Royal Oak for when we're doing baking out on the Kamado because
It's a game changer.
oh, it
Yeah,
is. Your baked. goods come out probably as good
Yeah.
as, or smelling as good as if you did them in the oven.
Ed,
It's that clean.
I'm fortunate
So I
enough to
guess
have
it's you.
two
You got to
classics.
experiment and see what.
Yeah. Use all of it and figure out which one you like. I've got two Kamado Joe classics out here on my deck. I've got a classic 2 and a classic 3. And my classic 3 is the grill that I cook meat on. And when I'm cooking in that grill, I use the Kamado Joe lump because the South American hardwoods do produce a stronger flavor element than most of the uh, hardwood lumps that are made here in North America, like the Royal Oak and the Rockwood. I'm not saying I don't like those because I do, and I'm going to tell you why. On my Kamado Joe Classic 2, I use that Kamado for everything I'm cooking that's not meat. And when I'm talking about not meat, I bake cakes on the Kamado. I cook pies on the Kamado. I cook bread on the Kamado. I cook pizzas on the Kamado. I
Cobblers.
cook cobblers. Yeah, I cook desserts. I cook all kinds of things on that grill. And when I'm cooking those things, I do not want a big smoke profile. So I use Royal Oak because it is the cleanest burning charcoal that I can get my hands on, and it's cheap. I pay $8 and something, $8 or $9 for a 17-pound bag of that at Walmart, and I love it. It burns clean, it burns hot, and it does not produce as much flavor on its own as the South American hardwoods do. So yeah, that's opposite ends of the spectrum. Kamado
And
Joe,
it doesn't spark much on startup.
right? Kamado Joe, Fogo, Jealous Devil, Wicked. What's that wicked? What's that wicked one called? Wicked whatever. Uh,
Wicked.
I don't
Yeah, you
remember what
would
it's called,
ask. Now I
but
can't think. Wicked, whatever it is.
they're all South American hardwoods, so they do produce a bigger smoke profile on their own. And a lot of times it's enough without having to add any smoking wood. I'm perfectly happy most of the time with just using charcoal. So Daniel wants to know who
Yep.
tried meathead. Daniel, are you talking about the meathead brand charcoal? That lump? I've seen it. I haven't tried it. Do they have? Does Gary have that? Do they have that at Atlanta Grill Company? The meathead brand. I think I've Wicked Good. Yeah, Brian, that's it. Uh,
Yeah.
that's the one called Wicked Good. They're all South Americans. So yeah, the meathead. I have not tried it. Daniel, have you? Uh, Daniel lives down there close, so he. I haven't tried the Wicked. I do have a bag of Myron Mixon's lump that I haven't tried yet. Gary, uh, Jeff, have you tried that one?
Yep. It burns good. I don't know that it's not as clean and burning as the Royal Oak, but it's not as flavorful as the Kamado.
Is
It's
it is
kind of
it an
like in
American?
between.
Is it sourced here out of the
Yes.
USA? Okay, I've got a
Yep.
bag
It's
of it.
American
Like I said, I
hardwood.
haven't opened it yet. Mike Spate hooked me up with a bag of that when I met him a couple weeks ago. So I'm gonna try it. I just haven't yet. So and Daniel,
It's a
I'll
little
try it.
sparky if you use a torch on it.
Yeah, I don't use a torch. I use my fire starter. So Daniel, I'll try the meathead, but I haven't yet. So uh,
And I
we'll
think
see.
he's got the lump sizes. His lump is based for his gravity feed.
Yeah. And Ed, I did know that Royal Oak is based in Roswell. I knew that. uh, that's why I was curious. When Atlanta, I still don't know the answer to this, and I don't think Gary and Jason are ever going to tell me. I don't know who provide where their Atlanta Grill Company branded charcoal is sourced. I thought originally that it might have been Royal Oak, but it's not. I've used it, and it's not like any Royal Oak I've ever used. Yeah, Stephen, it did. I remember that very specifically. I remember talking to Bobby about that. They were made by the same supplier out of Argentina. The Wicked Good. Hank, glad you could join us tonight. And Stephen, man, I'm looking
Brian,
forward to seeing you again. It's been a long. It's been. I guess the last time I was face to face with Stephen was at the last Atlanta Grill Company event. It's been way too long. My wife and I have been threatening to run out to Nashville for a night or two and go see. I haven't tried the Masterbuilt lump either. I probably. Uh, Jeff, do you
Yeah,
have
I've,
some of
I've got
that?
the Masterbuilt lump. It's good for their yeah, it's good for their gravity feed. It's a smaller. You're not going to find very big pieces, which is not what you want for those gravity feeds because they cause what's called bridging,
Yeah.
and that causes your fire to go out. But yeah, it's also very sparky if you use a torch on it. But going into gravity feed, you're using the
Well,
two
I'll
pieces
give
of
you.
the fire
I'll
starter.
give you a heads up. Anytime you put a, I've had sparking issues with every single charcoal I've used where I've tried to use one of these high powered torches or a forced air device to light it. It's just the nature of it. Some
Hmm.
every now and then you'll come across a situation where it won't spark badly, but most of it does. And when I talk about forced air devices, I've got a loop lighter.
Hmm.
I've actually got one of the Kamado Joe blows that I don't even think they sell that thing anymore. And I've got the grill gun, that really high BTU propane torch, and all of those things make a lot of spark. And I think they're dangerous. If you're going to use that stuff and you're not wearing goggles and an apron, you know,
Be careful.
use it at your
Absolutely.
own risk. I think they're dangerous, and I'm not particularly afraid of those devices. I think they have a lot of cool factor, they have a lot of fun factor, but man, I believe they're dangerous. Uh, if you were working in a commercial environment, there's no way in hell OSHA would allow you to use a product like that to light your fire. So, man, I don't know. I've got it, and the only reason I've spent money on things like that is because I want to be able to speak to you about it with firsthand experience. So, yeah, two sources depending on the man. Same as KJ lump, slightly smaller. Yeah, I don't know. I really like. I've been cooking a lot with Royal Oak. I've been cooking. I've got when my current supply of Kamado Joe. I've been kind of mising the Kamado Joe lump I have because Kamado Joe provided me with what I have, and I'm not out of the last shipment they sent me, but I'm getting low, and when I run out of that, I'm probably going to go solely to Royal Oak and use that in both places because I'm happy enough with that. But it's Royal Oak is a good charcoal. I have not met a lump charcoal yet that I couldn't cook with. So guys, figure out what when it comes to figuring out what is the best lump is the one that you like to cook with because I've not the lump I use doesn't make or break my cook. I can cook on
No,
any of it, and
absolutely.
yeah, you can cook on any of it. And once somebody made a comment here earlier about small pieces, uh, I can cook. If every piece of lump in my bag is the size of a golf ball, I can still cook with that. That's
Yep.
not going to affect my cook. If every
It's not a
if
game
every
changer.
piece in that bag is the size of a grapefruit, I can cook with that too. That's not gonna affect my cook. There's a lot of misconception out there about the charcoal. Jeff, we could do a whole another show on charcoal. I don't.
Charcoal
There's
is probably one of the great debates.
it
Oh, this
is, and it's
brand is
fun.
better than that.
It comes up
I've used,
constantly. Everybody wants to talk about this charcoal sucks or that charcoal's
yeah.
greater. You told me this charcoal was great, and I bought a bag of it, and every piece in it's the size of a golf ball. You know, I
Who
bought.
cares?
I've had Kamado Joe lump where everything in the bag was small. I've had Kamado Joe lump where everything in the bag was, the size of this rub bottle or bigger. I've had pieces of lump the size of a football or bigger in a bag, and I've had a bag where nothing in the bag was any bigger than a baseball. And
The
it it,
only two
it all
things that I will
works.
say about lump is some will burn quicker than others, and that's based on wood density.
Yeah,
And other than that, I don't care what the size is. You
yeah.
see a lot of people, like they'll badmouth cowboy.
hmm
I have no problems
I
with
can cook with
cowboy.
cowboy. That's the
I can
first
cook
lump
with
I ever
anything.
bought. when I
You
got my first Kamado, when I got the Acorn, that was the lump I bought to cook on it, and I went through 4 or 5 bags of Cowboy lump, and I didn't know the difference. Nobody, I didn't know that people didn't like Cowboy. I didn't know anybody complained about Cowboy till I told somebody I was cooking with it, and I hadn't had any problems with it.
know,
There's only one lump charcoal that I don't like and that I'll never buy, and I'm not going to tell you what it is because I'm not going to badmouth anybody's charcoal. But there is one brand of lump that I won't buy, and other than that one, every other lump I've cooked on has been great.
I think
I've done
there's charcoal snobs out there.
there.
You know,
It's just
my
like
brand is
anything.
better than your
Well,
brand. No,
it's
no.
charcoal snobs. There's grill snobs. There's meat snobs. There's people that won't buy meat that wasn't grass fed and listen to classical music all day long before it was butchered. And everybody's got their preferences, which is fine. But it does create endless amounts of comedy in the social media for.
Yeah. Cindy, absolutely.
Yeah,
Charcoal, cast iron, whether you wash it with soap,
yeah.
taboo.
Oh, speaking of cast iron, for those of you that are still hanging around, let me put in another plug. Atlanta Grill Company has picked up the Black Lock uh, line from Lodge. So as far as I know
Yeah.
now, Atlanta Grill Company has everything Lodge makes, and the Black Lock line is a higher end line of cast iron than their typical cast iron. And I've only got one piece of it, and in fact, I cooked those frog legs in that pan today. I have the 12-inch diameter Black Lock skillet from Lodge, and these pieces are a little lighter weight than the typical Lodge, and they have a better seasoning coat on them right from the factory. They're ready to go, and I'm gonna probably add the 10-inch skillet and the 8-inch skillet, and I'm gonna they've got a 4-quart brazier that I'm probably gonna get, and I'm gonna get the Dutch oven from that line. I've got too much cast iron, but this Lodge Blacklock cast iron is a great cast iron for somebody who wants what I would call a heirloom quality cast iron, but you don't want to pay Finex or Smithy prices for it. Uh, so have a look at the Blacklock stuff if you get a chance. That line is not as large as the other ones. They don't have everything, but they've got the main pieces you need. Dennis, I'm with you. All lump charcoal produces low ash. Uh, there are some differences between one brand and the other, but in my opinion, they're negligible. When it comes to ash production, there are two levels of ash production in my mind. You've got the ash production you get from lump charcoal, and you've got the ash production you get from briquettes. And there's a huge difference in the two. But as far as lump's concerned, I don't think the difference from one brand to the next is even really measurable. I mean, I'm sure it's measurable, but it's what's the term I'm looking for, Jeff? Here, it's insignificant.
Absolutely. And the
Yeah,
other thing that I'll say that's insignificant, if you are more worried about your lump that you're using for your cook, perhaps you need to rethink your cook.
yeah,
Because I don't care, you can give me the nastiest bag of charcoal and I'm still going to do a good cook. What
yeah.
you think is the nastiest bag of
Hey,
charcoal?
I've cooked with briquettes in my Kamado. You can do that. You certainly can do that, especially if you're using a fan controller. In fact, quite a long time ago, I should dig this. I should dig this post up. I loaded up I loaded up my original Kamado Joe Classic One with briquettes, and I wanted to see how long I could run it with a temperature controller. And I'm trying to remember which. I think I was using the Barbecue Guru uh, at the time, and I was using the uh, I can't remember what they call it. It was the standalone model. Uh, that it was not Wi-Fi. It was just and all it did was control the pit temperature. It didn't have a meat probe, but I ran that grill for like 36 or 38 hours on briquettes with that fan. It was crazy. You can cook with briquettes on a charcoal on a Kamado. It just makes a lot of ash. And briquettes don't reuse as well as lump does, but you certainly can cook with briquettes if that's what you want to do, especially if you're
Well,
using, say what?
John, on that fan feed on the briquettes, did you get a bunch of ash on your food?
Oh, I didn't get any. I didn't cook. I didn't have any
No.
food on the grill, but I set a pan up
Okay.
there just for that very purpose. I set a pan up there to see if I ended up with any ash in my pan, and I didn't. So since I didn't
Okay.
have any ash in that pan, I wouldn't have had any ash on my food either.
Yep.
Kamada, this fan, the fan that was on this barbecue guru that I had was a very low powered fan. Now, if you take a fan like I've got out here now with this flame ball or the fireboard, that 20
Fireboard.
CFM fan, if that thing was running full power, yeah, it would pump all kinds of ash around in that cooking chamber. But I've got my
Yeah,
fan
but
throttled back, you know.
John, if you ran that fireboard at 20 CFM the whole time, even with Kamado lump, you're going to have ash on your
Yeah,
food.
I don't let it run at 20 CFM under any circumstances. I keep mine set at 20% of max. So I'm going to be running a max of 4 CFM with that fan on my Kamado. The Kamado doesn't need that kind of airflow.
And then Steven said here that he only made a meal once with the chemical smell. Like I say, the only time I've had the chemical smell is when I have visually seen the char or the yeah
Yeah. I'm not sure if I've ever had it. I've had some odd smells coming
the the
from it
bark
before.
not fully carbonized.
Yeah, and I've heard about it. And guys, I've probably burned north of 300 bags of Kamado Joe charcoal. And I've only had one or two instances out of all of that where I thought I had an off smell coming from my grill, and I still can't rule out that the off smell was coming from a grease residue in my grill, and I don't know. So I'm I'm oblivious. I wish I could experience it because I see it. I see the comments all the time, and I know it. I know it's out there. I'm not denying that it exists.
Well,
I haven't
mine was
experienced it
definitely
myself.
bark because as soon as I removed those pieces, and when I put
Mhm.
them in there, I said, "Man, that doesn't look right." And sure enough, I got the smell. As soon as I took those bark pieces out, smell went away.
Yeah. Well,
So I'm convinced it's the bark not being carbonized.
I've seen people complain about the same thing on other brands of charcoal that are not Kamado Joe. So I know it's not specific to the brand. Uh,
Oh no, it's I think all brands have it. It's the nature of the beast. I mean, when you take a look, if anybody has really done any research on seeing these chambers that they use to carbonize, I mean, these things are huge.
yeah.
There's bound to be one or two pieces that do not get fully carbonized. I don't care
Well,
what you do.
the Kamado Joe, the people that make the Kamado Joe charcoal, unless this has changed, and Stephen, correct me if I'm wrong, if they've had a product, if Kamado Joe's charcoal's coming from somebody other than where it was coming from originally, they've got these big outdoor like adobe brick dome igloo
Mhm.
shaped things that they do this in, and it's a very rustic process. So there are going to be some inconsistencies simply because of the way it's made, and it's very possible that what you're saying there is right. It's if it's uncarbonized, these South American hardwoods like the quebracho, I don't know what those woods are like in their natural form. I don't know what the aroma smells like, and I just don't know. So, uh,
Well, I say all wood in its raw state, in its green state, is going to have a even
right,
oak, it's going to have a foul smell until it's cured, right? And
yeah,
the lump, just takes that to another level. I mean, you've got carbonized wood, basically, is what you're using, and
agreed.
should at that point, at carbonized point, should not have any smell left. But if you got a piece there that didn't completely carbonize, then you're going to get it. And the key is, you see it,
Here's
you
something
take it
I
out.
like. Yeah, Dennis, I'm glad you brought that up. I have looked at a lot of reviews from the Naked Wiz, and I have a lot of issues with that
Hmm.
data. with what's done there. I have a lot of issues with that. And first of all, I admire the guy for the work he does. And I think he's here in North Carolina. I think that guy is down in the Raleigh area, somewhere down here, if I remember correctly. I've never met him. I'd like to meet him sometime. Maybe I'll see if I can do that. But I don't know how to put this nicely. I don't want to put that guy down because his charcoal database is responsible for a lot of charcoal sales. There are a lot of people that buy coal based on the reviews in that. And let me tell you something. Back, I don't remember how many years ago it was. Stephen may be able to help. Stephen Hickey, if you're listening here, help me out. For a short time, I don't remember how long ago it was. Kamado Joe was producing their own charcoal that was packaged in a brown bag rather than a red bag. And at that time, Kamado Joe was buying their lump charcoal from the people that make Rockwood. They were buying the Rockwood charcoal. And Rockwood at the time, I don't know if it still is or not, was the highest rated charcoal on the Naked Wiz uh, database. I haven't looked at that database lately, so I don't know if it's still there or not. Uh, yeah, Steven, that's a good idea. I'll look him up, and maybe that'd be a good idea if I can get him to come on live with me. That would be a fun conversation. Let's think about that. And Steven, I want to get with you and figure out, if I can't get you to come on with me when I have him, we need to figure out what if he'll come on, what kind of questions we want to ask him. I don't want to be aggressive towards the guy, but I do have a lot of issues with the data. Uh, what he doesn't do, he does these tests that talk about how long charcoal burns and how much ash it produces. Those are two of the key pieces in the database for this charcoal. But what he doesn't do is talk about the significance. And I'm all about data. I'm a data driven guy for sure. I'm an IT guy from back in a previous life. And the how much ash is produced, one of the things you can't do in his database is compare that. He gives these things star ratings, but what I would want to see is if you burn a pound of his best performing charcoal and then burn a pound of his worst performing charcoal and then measure the ash, what is the difference? What is the actual difference between the two? And it's probably only going to turn out to be a couple grams, 10 or 15 grams of ash one way or the other, because this fully carbonized charcoal just doesn't produce a lot of ash. And even if let's say his best performing charcoal produces or his worst performing charcoal produces twice as much ash as the best performing. If you look at that, if you think about that, twice as much sounds like that's a big difference, but it might not be a big difference. If you're talking about 20 grams versus 40 grams, that's not a big difference. It's twice as much, but the significance is it's not as bad as it sounds. You following what I'm saying here, Jeff?
Yep.
It's it
I mean,
what is the
take flour, measure 20 grams of flour and then 40 grams of flour. It's not
yeah,
that much difference.
it's not
It's,
enough to
it's not a
create
hell to die on.
it's not going to create a problem in your cook. So yeah, I'll that's a good idea, Steve, and I'm gonna see if I can invite him up. And we gotta get broken down here. Look at
Yeah.
Tanya. She's about to fall asleep on me.
Oh
Hey,
my
Tanya.
God, it is so.
I have
Yeah,
been signaling for 30 minutes, John.
I know. We ramble. You know how we are.
Yes, I know how you
Is
are.
it over yet?
And I'm cranky. I've been up since 5:30.
Hey, yeah, we're done. We're done. We're just hanging out at this point. So
Okay, well,
yeah.
I'm gonna go. Bye, y'all. Love all
Thanks,
Bye,
y'all.
Tanya.
Tanya.
See you next time.
I'll be up shortly. We're about done. So yeah, Tanya's had a long day, guys. She did get up at 5:30 this morning. She's worn out. So yeah, and we're running later than we normally do. So yeah, we could have a talk. And yeah, I might see about having the Naked Wiz guy on. I'll figure that out. I'll figure out a way to do that. and we'll talk to him about that and see what he thinks about. I don't know what his cooking. I don't know what his cooking background is. I don't know. Does he cook? I'm guessing he cooks, but I'd like to ask him. If you cook on these charcoals, where are the big differences in what you see there? That'd be a good conversation. I might try to do that. That's a great idea, Stephen. So yeah, Ron's asking his time to. I don't know. I'd need to go back and look at it. I've gotten so put out with the data that he puts out. I've really quit looking at it. I haven't looked at it lately. Uh, he does some very really really deep in-depth reviews of the charcoal. There's far more information than anybody needs about a charcoal. But the thing about it is, the thing that grabs me the most is that people put a lot of weight. They put a lot of weight behind what he says, and these charcoal manufacturers send him charcoal. I know Bobby. Bobby at Kamado Joe, when Bobby owned Kamado Joe, when Bobby started doing his own charcoal, he sent the guy charcoal. And the first review, I don't know if it's been redone since then. He did not like the Kamado Joe charcoal. He gave it a rather bad review. Uh, I don't remember the details of it. Yeah, Stephen, she's
I thought you'd
tired.
like that one.
Yeah,
She's a
I
tired
know she's
puppy.
tired. We talked about it at dinner. I know she's tired. She's had a very very trying day. She had to do a bunch of stuff with middle schoolers at work today, and
Seventh graders from all.
yeah. So middle schoolers are not her wheelhouse. She's a college instructor, so but she's dedicated and she's tired, and so I gotta head out too. I don't know, it's F1 season and the Melbourne race is this weekend, and qualifying starts at 1 a.m. I'm not staying up for qualifying. I'll watch the repeat of it in the morning, and I'll watch the repeat of the race Sunday morning. So uh, let's wrap up. And
Yep.
Stephen, great idea. I'll see if I can get the ball rolling to see about getting the Naked Whiz guy to come on with us. So uh, okay, yeah, we've gone an hour and 37 minutes again. We
Yep.
we like
It's
going
time.
long, don't we? That's all right. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me, Jeff. I appreciate you being on with me, and I hope you get your internet problem straightened out sooner rather than later.
Well, hopefully Sunday afternoon we'll have it all straightened out. Like I said,
Yeah.
I
All
can't
right.
believe I cut the cable, but if I did, they should
Yeah.
have buried it deeper.
All righty. Well, y'all have a good week, and we'll see you here next Friday night.
Have a good one.